And just like that, he was gone. And we were all alone again. I mean, he said he would send us a friend, a helper, and we should just wait. So that's what we did. We waited. For how long? We didn't know. For what exactly? Who knows? But we waited and waited. And just as we were about to give up hope, it happened. I remember the earthquake, the wind, the incredible noise. I mean, it was crazy. And the fire. And then we knew he was here.
Good morning and welcome to our Sunday morning experience. We are so glad to have this hour where we can just connect with each other again. So please feel free to kick back and relax. Or if you feel like you're needing some social interaction like me, or you feel like you need prayer, please feel free to engage with us on our live streaming platform that you can find at waypoint.online.church. People are ready and waiting for you. Please note we have a big announcement at the end of our message today, so please make sure you stay tuned in. If this is the first time you are joining us today, we are in the last part of our series called Fight For It. And wow, what a series it has been. It has been so relevant and so significant for the times that we find ourselves in. If you missed parts 1 to 3, I really want to encourage you to go visit our YouTube channel and watch those messages. This really is a series not to be missed. But today, my handsome husband, who makes me so happy, will be bringing us the message. If you were wondering who wrote my script, you know now. But he will be asking us the important question, are we more than just body, intellect, and emotion? And if so, how do we build resilience within that? But before we get to that, let's join John in singing 2 songs.
Let our praise be your welcome. Let our song be a sign. We are here for you. We are here for you. Let your breath come from heaven. Fill our hearts with your life. We are here for you. Oh yeah, we are here for you. To you our hearts are open, nothing here is hidden. You are our one desire. You alone are holy, only you are worthy. God, let your fire fall down. Let your fire fall down. Let our shout be your anthem, your renown. Fill the skies, we are here for you. We are here for you. Let your word move in power. Let what's dead come to life. We are here for you. We are here for you. To you our hearts are open, nothing here is hidden. You are our one desire. You alone are holy, only you are worthy. God, let your fire fall down. To you our hearts are open, nothing here hearts are open, nothing here is hidden. You are our one desire. You alone are holy, only you are worthy. God, let your fire fall down. All things have passed away. Your love has stayed the same. Your constant grace remains the cornerstone. Things that we thought were dead are breathing in life again. You cause your sun to shine on darkest night. Through all that you've done, we will pour out our love. This will be our anthem song. Jesus, we love you. Oh, how we love you. You are the one our hearts adore. The hopeless now have their hope. The orphans now have a home. All that was lost has found its place in you. You lift our weary head. You make us strong instead. You took those rags and made us beautiful. For all that you've done, we will pour out our love. This will be our anthem song. Jesus, we love you. Oh, how we love you. You are the one our hearts adore. Jesus, we love you. Oh, how we love you. You are the one our hearts adore. Our hearts adore. Our hearts adore. Our hearts adore. Our affection, our devotion poured out on the feet of Jesus. Our affection, our devotion poured out on the feet of Jesus. Our affection, our devotion poured out on the feet of Jesus. Our affection, our devotion poured out on the feet of Jesus. Our affection, our devotion poured out on the feet of Jesus. Our affection, our devotion poured out on the feet of Jesus. We love you. Oh, how we love you. hearts adore you. Jesus, we love you. Oh, how we love you. You are the one our hearts adore.
I'm Eugene DeLange. I'm a businessman from Port Elizabeth. My wife's name is Madeleine, and I have 3 kids, Lizelle, Eugene Jr. and Eric. In 1996, February, I had a car accident at 200 kilometers per hour. Not only did I survive the accident, but I also climbed out of the vehicle without a scratch. In April that year, I went to Buenos Aires in Argentina. When we came to land, the aeroplane's landing gear was faulty and we had to do an emergency landing. Then later that year, on the 27th of December, I went for a 25k run, and when I came back home, I went and sat, had a glass of water. My right hand side leg started getting up pins and needles. We immediately rushed to the hospital. Within 25 minutes, I was totally paralyzed. The doctors then came to me after about 3 days after doing various tests, and they said, you have a rare virus. We don't know what it is, but we just want to prepare you that you are paralyzed and you're not going to walk again. Then we tried everything. I mean, we approached all the doctors, cardiologists, neurologists, trying drinking different tablets, and whatever we've tried, nothing worked. This whole emotional turmoil started. You know, you have all these questions. Why is this happening? What is happening? What is going to happen with your finances is non-existent? Are you going to lose your car? Are you going to lose your house? So you fall into this whole phase of depression, you know, where you don't want to live anymore. You are tired of life, you know, and it can't get any darker. There was no more light, no more hope. I was done. The neurologist then came to me one evening and he said to me, Eugene, you've tried all these various things and nothing has worked. Have you ever asked God to help you? And I said to him, no. And he said, we are having a men's prayer group the next morning. Would you mind if we pray for you? I said to him, no, of course, please do, you know. And I was lying in a private room, and in the roof there's a TV mounted in Green Acres. The next morning, when I was lying there, I saw my right hand side toe moving. As I pulled myself up, I saw on the TV that it was on the TV screen that was 2 minutes past 6. I then turned my legs out to the right and I held onto the stand where the drip was mounted onto, and I started walking slowly but surely holding onto that drip. The neurologist then came later that morning, Dr. Franz Liver, and I told him the whole story and what happened. He was amazed by what happened, and he said to me, you know, Eugene, you said you started walking at 2 minutes past 6. I didn't tell you yesterday when the men's group was starting. It actually started at 6 this morning. I told the guys about you and we started praying for you. And then 2 minutes later, they're 12 kilometers away from there. You got out of bed and you started walking. From that day on, I spent more and more time with God. Every morning I have a session where, in my quiet time that I spend with God, I trust God with all my business decisions. Any major decision, I'll ask God to give me a sign and to confirm that what we want to do is right. When we have services at our various branches on Friday mornings that we started, that we implemented, and also with God alone, to all problems that are given, I'll give to God. So if I have any challenges or problems, I'll say to God, let your will be done. And I see challenges differently. It's more opportunity to growth. And I thank God for opening my eyes and supporting me and what has happened to me and pulling me up, and that I can walk again. And that everything that I do and want to do is to the greatness of God, and to thank God alone for that. My faith statement now is that only one thing counts, and it's faith expressing itself through love.
Wow, what an amazing testimony. I love that story, and I love stories like that because it just shows why we do what we do, why it is so important to create communities where people actually just get to meet Jesus, because we know that meeting Him and growing in a relationship with Him changes lives forever. So that is just amazing, and I'll refer to the testimony a little later. But here we are, it's week 4 of Fight for It, and I want to start by asking those of you who have done sports. Now, is there any sports fans out there? Those of you who've taken part in sports, maybe it's team sport or individual, doesn't matter. What is the one thing you hate most about that sport that you played or still currently play? That's right, with a resounding yes, it is fitness. I know, fitness, it is brutal, it is the worst part of any sport. But the funny thing is, fitness is usually the first thing that we start with. It is usually the first thing that happens in preseason before you start with the skills and the moves and the technique stuff. You start with fitness first. I remember for me, it was in matric was probably the peak of my sporting time. I remember I've been a B team player all my life in rugby, and this pre-season training camp we had for the first team, trained hard. We really worked up a sweat, and I mean it was so brutal. I used to walk home after rugby practice, and I remember as I was walking, there was always this one person's garden on the way back, and I remember there was this bare patch in the garden, and every time I used to walk past there, I used to feel something coming up, and I'm going to admit it now, but yes, I used to throw up in that same spot every time I walked past there. It was like my body just knew this was the spot, and I used to throw up there so many times. Just as a side note, and as the weeks progressed, that spot in that person's garden became probably one of the most fertile spots there. So if you're watching today and you were wondering who your mystery gardener is, you're welcome. Yeah, that was me. That was fitness. That was brutal. That was hard. But the amazing thing about fitness and what it does is it actually builds something we've been talking about for a very long time now in the series. It is resilience. That's right. Resilience within your body. It narrows the space that it takes for your body to respond to pain, to ache, to tiredness. And it reduces that time so that you can focus on what is the important thing in this match or competition that you're busy with, so that your body can focus on what is most important. It closes that gap significantly, and the fitter you are, smaller that gap is. So that's amazing that you can actually build resilience within your body, and it's such an important thing to have. The other area where you can also, because we know we are not just made out of a body. I mean, we have thoughts and emotions, and we have a conscience and stuff like that. And we also know, and I want to brand all those things maybe just as your soul. Let's give that a word, that word for that conscience and the words and the thoughts and emotions. Let's give it a soul. You can actually train your soul. You can actually make your soul more resilient. A great example of that is something we did in our life groups a few months ago called I Said This, You Heard That. And maybe those of you who have tuned into Quarantine Quabbles on Wednesday evenings is the same. It's a temperament where we test your temperament and what are you likely to behave, how are you likely to behave in certain situations, how you respond in adversity, all those stuff. And not just with the idea of knowing yourself, but actually showing how you can actually train yourself to respond differently than what you usually would, so that you can accommodate other people who are different than you. It's an amazing tool to train yourself in your soul and your emotions and in your thoughts and your temperament, to actually not just maybe avoid conflict, but actually to facilitate conflict better, to make relationships better, to understand one another better. It is such a fantastic tool. And that essentially makes you more resilient. When adversity comes, you actually get to respond the way that you want to and the way that the situation requires, rather than just going on raw instinct. So, you can actually build resilience within your body and within your soul. But is there something more to me than just my body and my soul, my thoughts, emotions, and conscience? And for a lot of us, that is it. But I think all of us have actually asked the question, is there more to me? Is it enough? Isn't there something more to this than just being a body and a soul? I maybe want to even ask a bigger question. Is there more to me and you? Now, I want to maybe argue that you just asking that question and being able to ask that question already answers that question. I mean, think about it. My dog that's running around outside isn't thinking about being something other than a dog. Isn't thinking about the deeper meanings of life. That dog is satisfied with just being dog and doing what dog does. But for me, there's something in me that's yearning for something more. And maybe that's where you are and have been. And this one thing can't just be boiled down to intellect and a way of thinking higher and a higher intellect. Because if we look back at mankind, since the beginning of mankind, people have been being drawn and even worshipped something bigger than an idea or something that was bigger than themselves. Something they've joined a common purpose to understanding something bigger, and maybe don't understand it completely, but trying to figure out this question, is there something more? So this maybe cannot be outthought by intellect or something like that, but I want to tell you that there is something more to you. And what is this thing, this yearning that we have? And I want to maybe give it a new name for you if this is new to you. And this is something we call your spirit. Because this is a part that longs for something bigger. You know, this is the part of you that asks the uncomfortable questions. And this is also the part that, you know, that goes against all logic. You know you should be doing this, but you just have this feeling that, no, something else is at play. I need to go. That is what we call your spirit. But you know, this part of you, this spirit, can also make you feel empty and alone when your body and your soul are doing fine. We all know someone that has been in that place, and heck, I bet most of us have been in that place, where there's something that you just can't explain, but something is missing. And that can only be your spirit. So, if you are a Jesus follower, this is something that you know. When we talk about Jesus, you know that this is the thing. This is the part of you that Jesus came to redeem. Jesus went far beyond what we saw and our perception of who we are. And He realized that this spirit part of you is the part that is in most need of redemption. I mean, let's look at Eugene's story. I mean, he had it down. This guy's body, he was doing 25k runs. His body was in great shape. His emotions, and he was happily married with family. But what happened when tragedy struck, when adversity struck? You see that there's something and a longing inside of him that couldn't be explained. And that one thing was something, when he realized that this is something that Jesus came to pay the price for, that spirit, it changed his life completely. That is what we're talking about when we say Jesus came to redeem your spirit. I mean, if you look, Jesus in John 10:10, He said, you know, I didn't just come to give you life, but I came to give you life and have it in abundance. Now that abundance is not just having a healthy body and being healthy in your emotions and your way of thinking, but actually He was talking about your spirit, that innermost being of you being satisfied and peaceful and content with where it is at. But you know, Jesus didn't just say your spirit needs to be redeemed. He actually went as far in John 3:5. He's talking to a religious guy called Nicodemus, and he's actually explaining this to him, and he's explaining this to him for the first time, this concept of spirit. And it's not just your spirit being reconnected with God, but it is actually your spirit being reborn. You get a new spirit, a whole new setting. It's something that is born of God, says Jesus. And this spirit that He gives you is connected with God. One shot. And this spirit is the thing that is brand new and the thing that is going to bring meaning to the rest. And when you are reborn, as Jesus said, Jesus knew this is why He had to come, and to redeem your spirit and to give you a new spirit. Because if your spirit is ready and your spirit is right and your spirit is new, connected to God, the rest will follow. Your body and your soul will follow. I love this. Our lead pastor, he always says this, before you were redeemed in a relationship, before you became a Jesus follower, you're a body with a soul and a spirit. But it actually changes around when you become a Jesus follower, when you accept what Jesus did for you, and now you become a spirit with a soul in a body. The spirit is the one that guides, that takes control and that gives purpose, because the spirit is from God. So now you have a name for that one thing that maybe you couldn't explain before. The spirit in you. So if this is new to you, if this is something that you've never thought of before, or this is all just leaves you with more questions than answers, please don't miss next week, because next week we're actually going to take this further and show how you can actually live from this place of being a spirit with a soul and a body, and how this partnership with God and His Spirit in you, how this whole thing works. So if you're confused and you have questions, don't worry about this. And I also want to invite you, as we pause for you for a moment, I want to invite you also to connect with us on social media. We have Starting Point, which is a fantastic group where we just take it from the beginning and take this whole concept of faith and what this spirit life means. We take it through from the start. So if you want to be a part of that, just connect with us on social media. So back to resilience, and I know what you're asking, Tiaan, how does resilience have to do with the spirit part of me? So as we saw with your body, you can build resilience through training, physical training, and just like with your body, your soul, your emotions, your thoughts, your intellect can actually also be trained to do what it needs to do and to build resilience. But here's the thing with your spirit, that part of you, and as we saw in the previous weeks, that's actually an integral part of your identity, because that is where you get your affirmation from God and those things. Adversity directly affects your spirit. And without resilience, you could actually lose a lot of time in bouncing back from adversity, because now your spirit is lagging. Your spirit is actually needs to bounce back from something. And if you're not aware of this, it can take a really long time to bounce back. So how do I build resilience within my spirit? And this is where we're going to get practical. So there's a word, and it's unfairly probably been branded as a very religious word, because I think a lot of times it's been done for the wrong reasons. But this word is actually such an important part and a tool to help with resilience in your spirit. Now this word, and it's coupled with something we call prayer, is fasting. Now, I heard this joke this week, the opposite of fasting is fatsing. So if you don't know what fasting is, and this is a new concept to you, I'm quickly going to give you easy explanation. So what it basically is, fasting, is it is depriving yourself and depriving your body or your intellect or your soul of something to give priority towards your spiritual goals. Now, basically, and in layman's terms, it's basically giving one's whole spiritual attitude towards God and focusing your spiritual attitude towards God and in prayer. When we talk about spiritual goals or spiritual attitude, it can be for a number of reasons. Maybe it's just to become more aware of God in your life. Maybe it's just to become more humble and to become more thankful for what you have. And for a lot of people, it might just be to follow Jesus' example and to follow his lead and to hear from him directly and more clearly. But whatever the reason might be, this is such an important part, because this is the one thing that is going to build resilience. And why it builds resilience is because it actually focuses your attention to where you want it to be, and that is your spirit. Because remember what we said, you are now a spirit with a soul and the body. So the body is not dictating, the soul is not dictating, your emotions isn't dictating, your spirit is doing the dictating. And what fasting does is fasting actually turns your attention towards everything spiritual, because that is where life actually happens. That is where, if that part is right, the rest follows. And Jesus was so serious about fasting. He started, before his ministry, before he started preaching and did those amazing miracles and effectively changed the world as we know it, he actually fasted for 40 days before he even started with this going public, because he knew the importance of the spiritual side of yourself and how that needs to be aligned and resilient in the hardships and the times that are still to come. I mean, he even went further, and I know in Matthew 6 he lists 4 basic principles of a spiritual or a Christian life, as you would call it, and in which one of those 4 is actually fasting. And another guy who probably, other than Jesus, knew very well the importance of fasting was Paul. I mean, Paul was a Christian who wrote most of the New Testament, but he wasn't always a Christian. He got saved after after persecuting Christians. He actually met Jesus, and his whole life turned towards building this faith community and building faith communities all over the world. And he was, more than anyone else, knew adversity. He was thrown in jail, he was shipwrecked, he was beaten so many times. But in so many instances, and I know in a book called Corinthians that he writes, in all that stuff that he went through, something that he always did, and he did it frequently, was to fast. And not just to fast for himself and to get himself, but he actually fasted for other people and for other communities and on behalf of them. So here's what happens when you decide to fast, to give up something. And you know that something, it can vary. For a lot of people it's food, for a lot of people it's technology or coffee. That's right, for a lot of us it's coffee. But to give up something, and whatever that might be, the amazing results of fasting, and there are so many great stories of and benefits to this, but what it essentially does is it transforms just not your life, but your prayer life, the way you talk with God. It actually reveals where your heart is on a certain issue. And if you fast for something that's really important to you, which I really implore you to do, it will also reveal to you why you are going through what you're going through. And it will reveal to you why this is so important to you and what can be done about this. And you know what an amazing part of fasting also is you can actually fast with other people as well. You can fast in your community, you can fast as a group. And in this time that we're in right now, all of us have been affected in some way or another. You know, for a lot of us, it's maybe just being at home, cut off from people. I know that's a lot of us. For a lot of us, it's we've maybe just lost our jobs and we don't have any income. For a lot of us, we can still work from home and stuff, but you know, we just have a basic challenge like, I don't know the future of my kids, what the school term is going to look like, how are we going to fix the education and how this education thing is going to work. But there's also a lot of us that are actually employers, that are sitting with companies and don't know what's the next step, don't know how the future looks, and had to make major sacrifices in order to just pay people and not let people go. There are so many of us going through so many challenges and adversities. And it is now more important than ever to start building a resilience within our spirit. Because life happens within the spirit. And we do not want to take life, and we do not want to go through life being led by our body or our thoughts or our emotions. Because God has so much more in store for us. And the Spirit is the way we know where to go. So that is why fasting is so important. That is how fasting is going to build resilience. For you, for your family, and for the community. So, here we are. We're at the end of Fight for It. Where we looked at, instead of fighting against something, why not fight for that one thing? And that one thing is called resilience. You know, and we will fight for resilience through rejection, which is something we all experience and will experience in the future. You know, we will build resilience and fight for resilience through showing up for one another. Through pain and loss, we will be there and we will show what love looks like. And we will help others and our community through this time by showing up. And so also building resilience within our community. We will also show resilience and build resilience through praying together, fasting together, through hearing from God and following His lead in this time. And then there's another group of guys that I really want to talk to, and that is the next gen. The next generation. I almost want to count myself in that because I'm not yet 30. That's right, I'm still clinging into the 20s. But yeah, the guys, the next generation, the teenagers, the young guys. I know everything in this life, everything in society is working against you and us for you to live a spiritual life, to live a life not governed by thoughts and emotions and physical wants and temptations. But it is now more important than ever for us and for you to push in for a spiritual life, to fast for what is important for you, and for us as a community, as a church. The next gen is so important to us, and if you want to fast, if you want to pray for something, that is, and this is something you're passionate about, pray for your next generation. You know what? If you're tired of, if you want different results in your life, if you want to get these distractions and stuff out, you need to start doing something that no one else is doing. And I can bet you no one else is focusing and rearing themselves to live a spiritual life. And fasting is something that can help with that. So here we are, we're at the end of Fight for It. We fight for and not against. We fight for resilience, not just in our lives, but we also fight for resilience in one another's lives by showing up, by showing we care, by fasting because we know that life is spiritual. And we know that God, through the Spirit and through us, can do amazing things and will build resilience within us, our spirits, for anything that's to come. We're in a tough time right now, and I know we're in very tough times. And for a lot of us, this is a very challenging time. I'm not just talking about people that are in at home that maybe just don't have anything to do, but I'm also talking about those of you that have lost jobs, those of you who have lost family members, those of you who are employers that have to trust God with your business and you don't see the next step yet. You've had to let people go and you've done everything in your power to pay your employees, and you don't know what the next step is. For those of you who are just desperate and needing to know that you are not alone, now is the time, not just for you, but for us as a community, to show resilience by praying together, by fasting together, and by showing up for one another. Let me pray for you. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for not just letting us be in this world, but that you actually make a way in every situation for us to be better, to be more resilient, and to grow closer to you. And Father, I say thank you for every single person that has taken the step, Father, into a relationship with you. Father, for every single person that has chosen to trust you when the world hasn't given them no reason to trust you. And Father, we say thank you that you will lead us through this time, us as a community and this amazing community that we're in, but also this country. Father, that you will lead us through this, and that you will stay the same now and forever. We love you and we honor you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So there you have it, fasting. An amazing, amazing practice to help you in this journey to living a spiritual life. The amazing thing also is that we as a community are going to have a fast together starting on the 23rd of May. And if you want to know more about this, or you want to see what it entails, and especially if this is new to you, I really want to implore you to consider this. Join us on our social media platforms. There we will give all the information, what it's about, and help you in any way we can. But that's starting on the 23rd of May. Keep watching this week on social media to be informed about this. So, I also said that there's going to be a big launch today about something. And here it is. Are you ready? Here's the drum roll. It is the Waypoint app. That's right. Waypoint has its very own app on the App Store and Play Store. You can go download it right now. Waypoint SA. It is a new app designed specifically for you. Everything you need from us, all our resources, past and present, are there centralized for you. So you can just go, it's one click away on your phone, and you can have access to everything that you need. It is amazing. You guys can, Sunette will be on afterwards. She's going to show you how to download it, how to log in, and also check out social media this week where we'll show you what the features of that app is. But we're so excited about this. This is a tool that's going to be really helpful, not just to you, but anyone who needs resources where they are. So we're at the end of our time together. It was so great. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week. Cheers.
Alright, so now that you have the exciting news about our app, I'm just going to show you what it looks like and how to sign up. So once you've downloaded it from Google Play Store or Apple App Store, this is what it will look like. You just click on it, and this is the home screen. The first thing we want you to do is please sign up. So go to the menu icon, click on log in or sign up. It'll give you various options, but we prefer if you continue with email. Then obviously this will be the first time that you are logging in, so you go create an account, you put in your first name, your last name, your email address. If it gives you the automated drop down option of just clicking on your email address, please don't select that option and rather type out your email address in full, otherwise the system doesn't always capture it correctly. And then enter your password and write it down somewhere so that you don't forget it, and then click sign up. So that's how to sign up to our app. We will be sharing more of the features during the week on our social media platforms, so just keep an eye on social media. And thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next Sunday.